Okay. Okay, everybody. Thank you guys for being patient with us as we get it together on this Friday before Memorial Day weekend in 2023. So, good morning, Jessica. How are you?
Well, how are you this Memorial Day
I'm
weekend?
doing well. Okay. So, what I want to talk about today is relationship OCD.
Right.
Specifically when men have it versus when women have it with that. And so what's on your mind? Like, like what are you thinking about when I start saying relationship OCD? What comes to mind for you?
When it comes to genders, the first thing that popped up in my mind is for men, it's the anxiety or I guess cautiousness, if that's a word, of just being in a relationship. Whereas for women, I've seen it's just this is another new person I'm going to try a relationship with. That makes sense. So it's for women, it's more so the person. They kind of got a grasp of what they want in a relationship. Whereas men who's not used to maybe a committed relationship, a monogamous relationship, it's being in a relationship is a new thing. That's what I've seen in clients recently.
What I'm seeing recently is that and I'm sorry, I got a lot of thoughts going through my head. Is because as I start to think about it, I start to feel so bad for them with that. And so relationship OCD is that when you're doing these obsessive compulsive behaviors in the relationship that can feel suffocating to a partner, and it can feel like hell for you when you have it, because you're always worried something is going to happen. You're looking at everything. So if they decide to come into the front door as opposed to the side door, oh, what does that mean? They're trying to hide something from me. If they decide to, I don't know, sleep in 5 minutes late, oh, what does that mean? They're trying to get me out of the bedroom so that they can, make love to their partner on the internet. Like, and so it's that, and then it has you driving the person. For both men and women, I'll hear their partner say something like, I'm being suffocated. Like I can't go to the bathroom without them. Literally. Like if I get up off the couch, they will follow me to the bathroom. If I'm at work working and I don't respond to their call when period, like in within 2 minutes, they start to call me back to 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 back if I do. And so I think I want to educate people and let them know that the underlying thing is anxiety, and anxiety is basically fear. So is it fear this person's going to cheat on me because I've been cheated on before and I didn't see it coming and I got to be hyper vigilant to make sure it doesn't happen to me again? Am I scared this person's going to leave me? And so therefore I got to keep my eyes on them at all points in time. Am I scared they're going to steal from me or hurt me in some type of way? With that, I leave me is a good word. Also the word abandon, like, are they going to abandon me? Are they going to be happier without me? And so for those people who have relationship OCD, and usually I think what happens is when it comes into my office, and then Jessica, we can talk about, I don't know if you've had a couple of cases yet, but when it comes into my office, it's because it's starting to affect their sex life. Because sex needs a little bit of air in the relationship. Like there needs to be a little bit of space so I can desire you. And so if you are on me all the time, I can't want what I'm filled with. It's kind of like being hungry. I can't be hungry for you if I've had you nonstop for the last 48 hours with that. And that's just human beings and human dynamics. So if you know that you're a person who will call somebody back to back 200 times, and I'm not kidding, like literally 200 times, I need you to start thinking about, okay, am I a person, somebody who would want to be in a relationship with? Because people do, have I heard partners before ask or say something like they're feeling suffocated, they want to miss me. I think the nicest way to say it. But if you hear your partner saying it'd be nice to miss you, then that's going to be a cue for you. A cue, I'm going to say yellow flag, that okay, we need a little space. And most relationships do. We can't be this together 100% of the time. I'm going to say it's probably 10% of the population where both people need to be that close all the time. Most partners want to come together, come apart, and there's a kind of waxing of or waning of how much time we're spending together with that. And make sure you're balancing your life. And so make sure your partner has a balanced life. And so if your partner hasn't seen their friends, haven't seen their mom, don't feel like they can hang out with their mom without you, with that, those are all things that's going to wind up hurting you in the end. And I don't want you to hurt. Like I want you to have a long-term committed relationship that works for you. But if your partner is feeling suffocated by you, then they're going to want to get out. Like it'll feel like too much. Like I lost myself in them is what you'll hear them say. Or I couldn't breathe. I couldn't think without them. I couldn't. And so people need to feel like connected and individuals, like kind of we're together, but there's some elasticity to it. So, okay, what's coming up with you when we think about relationship OCD and talk about relationship OCD and all of that?
I think you kind of touched on it about seeing where that's coming from. And for me, like I love narrative therapy. And one thing that I thought about, which is kind of owed to them, is an intervention that I like to do called mapping out the influence, like seeing where that's coming from, because there's two separate things there. You can give the problem the power and the story the power, but really, when you give the story of this is why I act the way I act because I done had an ex do this and that to me, you are giving that story so much power where you're not even with that person anymore. Yeah. Whereas if you've already broken up with that person, then you can start developing and working on that issue that you had, that characteristic that you kind of took ownership of based on that experience, and working on that and some coping skills. And we can help with those coping skills as well. So you don't bring that baggage and those characteristics into the new relationship and create a new story that, hey, I used to act like this. And when I had a other relationship, they made me feel insecure. They made me feel like I had to check on them every 2 seconds. And once I got out of there and got into a relationship that was more refreshing, I could kind of take a step back. I didn't have to do all this stuff. So I guess stop giving the story more power when you're not even with those characters anymore.
That's very true. And on that, I want to piggyback kind of off of something you said and take it in a little bit different direction of making sure when you get out of one relationship, you give yourself time to breathe and heal before you get in another relationship. So we all, like, no matter who we are, you will have some type of baggage going into a new relationship. You will, whether it's baggage from old relationships, baggage from family of origin, baggage from friends, workplace, just lost hopes and dreams. You're going to have some type of baggage. What you want, though, is to be able to manage that well and kind of know what's going on with you with that. Then you can make agreements around it and then talk about it from the get-go, from the very beginning. If you sat down and kind of figured out, okay, what's going on with me? Okay, so my partner cheated, and now I'm scared to guess somebody else is going to cheat on me. And so then you need to think about, okay, what will you need to be able to sleep at night going forward in another relationship? And I guess sometimes y'all don't realize how scary being vulnerable is until you get vulnerable again. And this is especially my men, because my men are like, because a lot of men haven't been socialized to sit in negative emotions, sit with emotions, and then figure those out and figure out the impact that they have. And so what I hear a lot of my men say, or when we start asking questions, okay, how do you plan to handle that insecurity? How do you plan to handle being vulnerable, being in a relationship where you love somebody again and you're scared to death they're gonna cheat on you. How do you plan to handle that? And usually what I get is, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. And so I want guys to at least start thinking about it a little bit with that. And then of course your therapist is going to help you come up with ways to ground yourself, to self-soothe yourself, new mantras that you can say to yourself, and a myriad other codes that you can, like a straight idiot. To say it bluntly, so you're not being an idiot, or a pickaninny, or whatever words that we would call a jerk with that. With that.
One
And
thing that's
so,
coming for me.
say what?
One thing, I'll play devil's advocate because me personally, you can
Okay,
look at
great.
some stuff as baggage and some stuff as like gems to what I'm not going to deal with and what I am going to deal with. Okay,
Ooh,
so me
okay.
personally, in like my past relationship, I had like when I first got out of high school, I had a ex whose family was like so involved, like to the point if they felt like I did something that was disrespectful, they would allow him to do this with me or that with me, whatever. Okay, out of that relationship. Then I get into another relationship where I dated somebody who's family oriented. Okay, that's fine, that's cool. But I've seen certain things to where you're still getting treated like a child to the point it's affecting our relationship of what we
Mm,
can do. So it's
mhm,
like, okay, that's a yellow flag, not red flag. I done been this way. I've been through this road before. And I'm seeing things that kind of look familiar. I'm just gonna try to express my opinion. But if I see this progressing to like, yes, going back down that same road,
mhm,
yeah, I can't do it. And one thing I've said to like friends and family, and even clients, when you're used to like traumatic events in a relationship and you get into new
mhm,
relationships, you don't have to wait to the last straw to say, you know what, this isn't working out for me. It can be an amicable relationship to where you know what you want, you know where you see your life relationship wise individually, and know this isn't working out. This isn't
yeah,
working for me. When you've tried everything, you've talked, you've probably gone through therapy, and you can have an amicable breakup. You don't have to
mhm,
wait till something traumatic happens.
right, right. No, you don't. You don't. Um, yeah, yeah. I mean, that was just a really good point. I, okay, let's see. There's so many things going through my head with that. You don't have to wait to the end.
Mm.
Also, I think some people want to have like irrefutable proof of something sometimes. And so you don't need to. You can say,
Yeah.
this relationship doesn't feel good to me. I don't know what's wrong. I don't know what's amiss, but something's not right with that.
Mm.
Oftentimes, we will know something is wrong before we have the proof with
Yeah.
that, with our like our spidey sense, um, with that. And so start trusting your spidey sense with that. And I'm gonna say do the work so that you know when to trust your spidey sense and when you don't. Because if you've been traumatized, so for example, if I've been bit by a dog, every dog is gonna feel dangerous to me, right? Off the rip. And
Mm.
so it's now because I have that trauma, I have to just take a minute, take a breath, look at this dog's demeanor, and then decide whether this dog is going to be dangerous to me or not with that. So before I didn't know dogs could bite. I was
Mm.
okay with every dog, but now I know dogs can bite. So I just need to take a minute and say, okay, is this a dog that's going to be safe, or is this dog that's going to be dangerous for me? Um, and just taking that minute to have a breath. So I want to talk about kind of the extreme behaviors that relationship OCD can cause real quick in our last 10 minutes because the time went by so fast. That's the behaviors that's going to have you stalking a person, like following them everywhere they go, sitting outside, maybe putting trackers on them, on their person, on their car, and their purse, um, with that, uh, in their wallets. And so, and I've seen both men and women do it with that.
wallets?
Say what?
In their
That's
wallet?
that in the, well, they have those little like geotags.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. And so in a good way, if you have like an elderly person with dementia,
Yeah.
you would want to geotag like their wallet, their belt, their something, their shoes, so that you can always find them. In a bad way,
Yeah.
people are
Oh
using these
goodness.
to stock their to stalk their partners. With that, and I do understand if you feel like they cheat and you want to get the proof. There's a line though. Like you got to figure out, is this my anxiety kicking up, or is there really something going on? If you can't figure it out, then you need to have a conversation with a professional
Yeah.
with this. Yeah. And being
Oh.
in a relationship, I think it's always an act of faith.
Mhm.
It's always an act of faith. And I understand specifically if you have lost a lot of money before, or just it totally took you out of the blue, like you could have been devastated, absolutely devastated with that. And yet we still got to heal so that you can have healthy relationships moving forward in the future with that. I'm going to say a good rule of thumb is don't call anybody over 3 times in a row. If you notice, you done call them 10 times, like you gotta stop. You gotta stop
Yeah.
with that.
One thing
Yeah.
I seen, one of my best friends when she was in high school, she called me and she was like, "Have you talked to so and so?" I was like, "No," because we texted this time and he usually texts me like in the midst of 5 minutes, but now it's been like 15 minutes and he hasn't texted back. I'm like, and then when she finally talked to him, because it's been like 2 hours, he was visiting his deceased brother's grave. She's like, "Oh my God, I feel so bad because I sent him this long text cussing him out." I'm like,
Mhm.
from now and since I've grown up, I had to realize that you guys are two individual people with two different lives, two different
Mhm.
responsibilities that come together and enjoy each other's company and want to explore where this can go. So when somebody is what you think ignoring you, they're living their life and they're exploring who they are individually because you can't always know who you are if you're attached to the hip to
Yeah.
someone else to
Yeah.
see like what can this person offer to my life.
Right. Yeah. Again, so many thoughts through my head. And I think what's rising to the surface is, so verbal abuse is a thing. It's a
Mhm.
real thing. And so if you are a person who struggles with relationship OCD and that intensity and that fear, you're living in that fear that something's going to happen. First of all, address that, work on that, find a therapist who can help you with your anxiety with that. There's a book, Relationship OCD. There's classes on the internet with that. And so get the information so that you can be better. Also, you've got to be careful with your words. You've got to be careful with your words. And so just because you are highly anxious, I don't think it gives you the right to like call and berate your partner with that. And a good rule of thumb is don't say anything until you have the facts. Okay, so start with asking questions. How are you? Are you okay? Did you get my text? Because unfortunately, sometimes texts still don't come through with
Yeah.
that. I've had that happen to me recently, um, with a friend. She was like, "I'm lost in this conversation," and I was like, how much more clear can I be? And then when we compared, she didn't get one of the texts, but it said sent on my phone. And so we've got to be aware that technology isn't perfect, that things happen in life, and it needs to be some type of grace and some type of mercy given, and working in partnership with your partner with that. And so that could be like, hey, I know I get really highly anxious if I'm not able to talk to you every 4 hours with that. So if you could just, send me a text every 4 hours, like that would be ideal. Or if you're going to be out of pocket, like, hey, um, I'm going to be swimming in the ocean with that. Don't expect me to text you today, and to be able to create create partnership around both of our needs. Both of our needs. So I used to have this saying, crazy people need love too. And I like it. I like it. I
But
was
you
gonna write
know,
a
one
book
thing
about it.
I
But
thought about, like, if you have relationship OCD and you feel like you have some coping skills, you're developing it and you're ready to get back
mhm,
out there, don't pick a partner and say, let's be in a relationship until you trust that
yeah.
this is the type of person that wouldn't put you back
Mhm,
in that thought process. If you feel like, oh,
mhm,
they're cute, we have a good time, let me try to see if this is good. And then you're putting them through that excessive calling and FaceTiming and texting and everything else. Don't put yourself or them in that predicament to go through that strenuous, I guess, I don't know,
mhm,
strenuous situation. Is this a
mhm.
person who's showing you that I could trust them in this environment, this aspect? And if
Yeah,
so, then slowly but surely develop that relationship more. But don't do it
yeah.
when you're like half put together in your coping skills. They're not a
Mhm.
trial run.
That's true. Okay, but I will say the devil or the devil's advocate piece of that is a lot of people can't figure out how to do it or
Mhm.
until they're like in the relationship, like they didn't know they had the
Yeah.
problem. Like there was this famous minister lady one time, and she was like, "I didn't know I had an anger problem until I threw my cell phone against a man's car." And it's just like, yeah, relationships work like that. Sometimes you don't understand how your emotions can go so crazy in a relationship. I'm gonna say now, this is a good rule of thumb. If you are in a relationship, I use this rule of thumb, my friends use this rule of thumb, like this is practical, like real information. If you are in a relationship and you are need to say or feel the need to say to your partner, I wish you knew the real me. The version of me you getting is is not the real me. That's not
Mhm.
the relationship for you. I know you love them. I know the chemistry is high. I know the sex is probably good as hell, but you can't be yourself in that relationship. And that's not good. That's not good. And so I know that's a hard pill to swallow because those relationships usually are exciting and they feel good when they feel good, but when they feel bad when they feel bad. So if you feel yourself saying something to the extent of, again, look at this right, like I wish you could know the real me. Like I'm really a nice person. Like you're getting, then that's not a relationship you need to get to be in because you can't be yourself. You're not being yourself with that. And you got to acknowledge that. And I think some of us, we try to continue on thinking that eventually I'll be able to calm down and be myself. Um, but the truth is, I don't know if you'll ever be able to do it. Like if you're saying that, you've already done some crazy things with that. So and let's be real, how crazy people get, like there was a song, I bust your windows out your car. Like people have done that. They've slashed tires, they keyed cars, they've we have like celebrities who like burnt houses down. Like we so it can get really crazy. And so just kind of like I want you guys to know, like, this is where a therapist can help you. This is where a therapist won't judge you and will help you figure out, okay, we can't do that again. Like we can't do that again.
Yeah.
What do we do different? What coping skill do we need to put in place? Like what? So anyway, that's it for today. I want you guys actively working to be better partners in relationships. That's what I want with that. All right, everybody. Y'all have a great day, and we'll see you guys next week. And happy Memorial Day weekend. Bye.